Payday 3 has been officially out for 50 days as of the time of this recording, and its player count trajectory has been rather depressing to look at. On its finest day, Payday 3 accumulated 69,000 concurrent players on Steam alone, and that's not accounting for Epic Games, consoles, etc. The game easily had well over 100,000 concurrent players, probably near 200,000, and yet today, I looked at Payday's 3 player count out of curiosity, and I came across this. Yep, that's 700 concurrent players. That's like less than Stronghold Crusader HD. Have you even ever heard of this game? This game is 21 years old and it's got nearly 100 more concurrent players right now than Payday 3 on Steam. Or a better comparison being, Payday's 3 predecessor, Payday 2, has currently 30,000 players, well over 40 times the amount of players Payday 3 currently has. 40 times. That means even if there's 10 times as many players playing Payday 3 off Steam, that still wouldn't come anywhere near Payday 2's numbers. And let's be real, there isn't 10 times as many players playing Payday 3 off Steam. Anyways, without any further ado, clearly something is wrong with Payday 3, so in this video, let's go over 10 things seriously wrong with Payday 3. First off, the lack of dev communication with the community. I think the devs failed to realize how much we, the Payday 3 community, care about their game, and we want to see it truly succeed. I've been part of many gaming communities back in my day, and I can see the Payday community is one of the most loyal and caring community for their own game. I was not a Payday player in the Payday 2 era, I was a Counter-Strike player back then. But with Payday 3, I've since moved to Payday and I can see the passion that the community has for it. It's actually quite an amazing sight to see. With that being said, I think it's really a bummer that the developers communicate as little as they do with their own community. I mean, a few weeks back, the developers said this: "We've discovered critical errors with our update pipeline shortly after the game release. There was a significant risk to player progression being wiped if we didn't address this and ensured a solid test environment." And upon that statement, the entire community understood. They understood that the developers were struggling with their update and the community respected that, because that's what the community wants. Even if you're struggling, owning up to it and communicating with your community will only make them care more for you. It's better to do that than neglect them and leave them in the dark to make up their own assumptions of what's going on with Payday 3. Next up, the lack of mod support. I could go on for like 30 minutes about mod support, as mod support has endless potential for a game, but I'll keep it short. Why is there no mod support? As I mentioned earlier, I was not a Payday 2 player. However, upon taking Payday 3, I did look into Payday 2 a fair bit, and let me tell you, the mods created for Payday 2, I can 100% understand why Payday 2 has so many more players. I'm not even going to sit here and talk about the thousands of ways mods can enhance your game. I just want to mention one amazing category of mods: custom heists. Here's the thing, if there was mod support for Payday 3, I can tell there would be dozens of custom heists, not to mention a bunch of other great mods that would without a doubt have made Payday 3's player count be dramatically higher than what it currently is. I don't fully understand the logistics that go behind adding mod support to your game, but what I know for sure is this: if mod support were enabled, the community would be working their ass off to create great mods and great maps, and that would give the Payday 3 development team a buttload of space to take their own time with updates. But instead, since mod support isn't a thing, all pressure now is on the development team, as us players entirely rely on you rather than the workload being split across the entire community. Now, since we're on the subject of improving our gameplay, I can't not state the obvious. This game is missing a dramatic amount of quality of life features. Again, I could go on to mention like 100 different quality of life features that are clearly missing from the game, but let's talk about a few that blow my mind how it doesn't exist. Voice chat. How? Why? When? What? Voice chat. This is a co-op game. We're meant to work together as a team to steal money and win. How does this game not have voice chat? How do you release a game without one of the most obvious features any co-op game should have? Oh, but you can type. Well, what about the console players then? The challenge tab. Why aren't the challenges together? Why is the AK-47 challenge on this page and the other AK-47 challenge is like several tabs later? Why aren't they just together? Why isn't there a simple search bar for the challenges? Like, there are hundreds of challenges. Why is there not a simple measly search bar for challenges? It doesn't make sense. I'm just going to move on to the next point because this to me is so mind-boggling. I'd rather just move on for now. While on the subject of obvious features, let's talk about the obvious weapon balancing issues. This I'm not going to be too picky about, as any shooter game upon release has to gain enough feedback from the community and data to be able to more appropriately balance out their weapons, but there are some pretty clear outliers that should have been addressed before the game was ever even released. But once again, for the sake of saving time, let's just quickly compare two weapons: the VF-7S, or that is the SCAR, and the Ziv Commando, also known as the MAC-10. Now, I get that I'm comparing an AR to an SMG, and both of these weapons are supposed to serve different purposes, but I'm speaking from an overkill difficulty point of view here. The SCAR at a 10-meter range headshot does 182 damage per shot. On the other hand, the Ziv Commando will do 60 damage at the same distance, meaning it'll require more than 3 shots to the head before it even matches the damage on the SCAR, not to count that the Ziv Commando has no armor penetration while the SCAR does. So you might say, oh, but it's an SMG and it shoots faster. Like I said, I get that both weapons serve different purposes, but as far as Payday 3 overkill difficulty is concerned, the only purpose a Ziv Commando will serve is to tickle the enemies, while the SCAR users actually provide anything useful to the team. And we all know by now, shooting faster isn't even a good thing in this game. You need to conserve your ammo and only focus on headshotting, or else you're really just asking to die and to run out of bullets. The game has 4 clearly better weapons, and that's the VF-7S, the SA-A144, the Bison revolver, and the Castigo revolver. And since we're talking about weapons, I can't leave out the preset weapons. I've wasted nearly $100 million on these, and I believe 700 C-stacks. And yes, wasted is the correct word. What's the point of these? For the skins? Really? I feel we could do way better than that. I mean, I wouldn't be complaining if you wanted us to spend, let's say, $20 million to purchase a weapon skin, which is why I'm not complaining about masks, suits, and gloves, as they're all cosmetics, and I get it, and that's great for anyone who enjoys using them. But for the preset weapons, we spent $20 million for a much worse version of the weapon, as we can't change around the mods in it. So it kind of defeats the purpose of customizing. I get the concept of spending in-game dollars to flex your inventory, but if your inventory is just worse, then what's the point? You're much better off buying a regular non-preset weapon and then spray painting it. At the very least, let us customize the preset weapons. I know that kind of defeats the purpose of preset, but if the purpose of the preset weapons is to flex cool skins, then well, let us flex cool skins on weapons we can actually customize to our likings. And with that, that brings me the subject of cash and C-stacks. Just like the weapon balancing issues, I'm not going to pick too much on this. The game is in its early days, and features for us to spend cash and C-stacks on are surely yet to come. But as of right now, there's not much for us to spend our currencies on. As we just went over, the preset weapons are useless. So if you spare yourself of spending hundreds of millions of dollars on useless unmodifiable weapons, you'll have a full inventory with all weapons and all mods in no time. I haven't played a crazy amount of Payday 3, and I have already every weapon in the game and every relevant mod there is in the game. And that's with having wasted hundreds of millions of dollars on useless preset weapons for the sake of content creation. But yeah, I'm not gonna pick too much on this, especially as I'm not a Payday 2 player, so I'm not exactly sure what it is that you guys usually spent your money on in the previous game, but coming from other games, the currencies seem rather pointless. There's no reason to actually grind for money in this game after you get the weapons you want, unless of course you just want to go around blowing cash on cosmetics, so I guess there is that. I feel there should be more ways though we could invest money on that actually affect the gameplay. Next up, we've got the poor leveling system. I feel this has been talked about hundreds of times by multiple people, so I won't go too much in detail on this. But yeah, entirely tying leveling up to challenges isn't very rewarding. I'll say this, I love the concept of gaining experience by doing challenges or other rewards, as I'm personally a completionist, so I absolutely love this concept, but making it so that 100% of the experience gain is entirely from challenges makes no sense. Succeeding from a heist and stealing all loot in a painstakingly 40-minute stealth run to not even earn any XP is like a slap to the face, and the challenges requiring you to do absurd grinds such as completing the same heist 150 times isn't even necessarily a challenge, it's just work. Another subject that has been talked about hundreds of times by multiple people is the online only concept. There are entire videos dedicated to this subject, so I won't be going too much into it. The Payday 3 launch can speak for itself, and launch aside, just a few weeks ago, while recording a video for the Cleaning It Out achievement, I spent nearly 20 to 30 minutes doing this difficult achievement just to have the servers crap out on me on the last second. Honestly, if I wasn't creating content for Payday 3, that might have been enough for me to put the game aside for several weeks, as that's something that shouldn't even exist. Offline solo play should be just that, offline solo play. And while on the subject of solo play, I can't leave aside the bot's AI. The game is clearly designed for co-op play, and I'm not even going to fuss about that. I get it, you want your game to be played as co-op, but from the very little I know from Payday 2, what I do know is that solo playing plays a major role in the community. From time to time, over the years, I'd get recommended on YouTube several solo stealth playthroughs and guides and such, averaging hundreds of thousands of views, and if I had to bet my money on it, I'm guessing that Payday 2 has a massive amount of players that focus strictly on solo play. Personally, I'm a solo player myself, so I definitely see the appeal. However, back to Payday 3, the bot's usefulness in this game is incredibly limited. I mean, in stealth it's fine as they just kind of stay out of my way, but in loud gameplay, the bots are just incredibly useless. They just stand there, they take no cover, they use no utilities, they don't revive each other, and you can't even tell them what to do. Nothing. They just stand there. You should be able to, let's say, ping a loot bag, and that would make one of the bots go and reach for the bag as you're commanding them to do so, but not even that. You can, at best, throw a bag on their back, but you can't ask them to do anything, or rely on them to do anything. They need some serious work. And lastly, for this video, is the situation I currently find myself in, as well as I'm pretty sure plenty of players who have played Payday 3 a certain amount. There is simply nothing else to do. Where do we go from here? Mods are unsupported, so I can't go around playing around with fun mods or custom heists. There isn't anything actually worthwhile spending your money on to experiment around. There is simply nothing. There are only 8 different heists that I can replay yet again, and that's all. There isn't something to grind for, not anything worthwhile anyways. There isn't any more weapons to buy or builds to try. Now the thing is, for most games, you'll always reach this point. The point of where you've done everything the game has to provide. But here's the issue. We are here far too quickly. I really haven't grinded Payday 3 that hard, yet I find myself in this situation. And it would have been even faster if I hadn't spent over $100 million on useless preset weapons. And as it stands, the devs haven't communicated much at all. So I don't know what I'm waiting for exactly. The only bit of information we have is that after 45 days of its release, the game patched out some very basic bugs that should have been patched within a week of its release. So how can we feel excited about Payday's 3 future? Well, that's all for today. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.